Thanks for clicking on the video. Hit us with a like on Facebook, a subscribe on YouTube, a follow on Instagram. You can find us at Homie and the Dude. That is at Homie and the Dude. Thanks again. Enjoy the video.
All right, what's up, guys? This is episode 30 of Homie and the Dude, and we have a special guest, Bodhi Harrison, who is the leader of the ONEWHEEL Freestyle Movement. We're looking forward to really getting into freestyle, one wheel, and also a bunch of other extreme sports that Bodhi's really into. We just talked about Bodhi and Bodhi. First time we've had two Bodhis in the same room, definitely. So yeah, we'll be kicking it with that in a second. First, just a quick shout out to our guest, Veast.Kitchen.
Sponsor.
Our sponsor,
Go for it.
Veast.Kitchen. They are the badass vegan option in Bristol, England. They have actually a cutoff time in about 2 hours for a dinner tomorrow night that's smashing. It's a big old sandwich. So if you're up for it, go to Veast.Kitchen. They've got some awesome vegan food. Great. All right. Bodhi Harrison, what's up, man?
What's going on, y'all?
What's going on? Dude, so I know that from like a young age, you've been all over the place with board sports. You've done like a bunch of stuff throughout your life, but what was the first one that you started with? Was it skateboard, snowboard? Where did it all begin? Where did the love start?
It's definitely skateboarding and snowboarding. I got lucky. I grew up with a rad dad, a shredder dad. He used to skate with like the Z Boys back in the day. Grew up in Santa Monica, skating, surfing. Wow. Moved out to Colorado in college, started snowboarding. So when I was a kid, like as soon as I could kind of stand freely on my own, my dad would take me up with him snowboarding and put me in between his legs, and I'd hold on to his knees and just stand underneath him, and we just go snowboarding and ride around, and he'd push me around the hall in our house. When I was like 4, maybe 5, we were skateboarding around. He like fell on top of me and broke my collarbone. Like skateboarding and snowboarding is all I've ever known. Like my dad grew me up on it really early. And then over time it splintered out from skateboarding and snowboarding. And I've, over the years found a bunch of different board sports that tickled my fancy and just kind of messed around with a bunch of stuff.
That's awesome, dude. So how did your mom feel about the broken collarbone?
See, I mean, I'm sure once she knew she was going to have kids with my dad, she knew that we were going to be shredders, and she knows that shredders get hurt. So they're definitely, that was probably like the first real injury I had. And then it was just one after another after that. So that's kind of just the
beginning. Nice. That's absolutely awesome, man. So you said your dad skated with the Z Boys and stuff. That's a huge influence, dude. That's the most OG of the whole storyline that it's out there. So that must have been a huge influence on you, and I assume that's probably what a lot of what inspires like your style and the way that you are on the board as well. So you went on to like skating and snowboarding. Now, what then took you across to electronic one wheels? What was the transition point, and how old were you when that kind of went down?
Well, it was 2015 or 2016. I was a teenager at that point. I was like 16 or 17. And I, at that time, had gotten into whitewater stand-up paddleboarding.
Oh shit, nice.
Which is super fun. And it's like a super low key sport. A lot of people don't even know about it, but it's pretty popular in Colorado. So we have tons of rivers out there. So out in Colorado, we were at Paddle Fest, which is a whitewater event they put on every year in Buena Vista, this beautiful mountain town. Let's see, where would that be? It's up in the mountains of Colorado. And my buddy, Mike Traveres, AKA Mike T, if you open up a brand new ONEWHEEL XR, the little pamphlet that comes with it is Mike T, because he's
wait, what's the one? Oh, is that the one wheel? Oh, the one XR. Okay.
Yeah, when you open the XR, there's like this piece of cardboard and a little booklet on top, and that's Mike T. Right when you see it. Everybody that's on ONEWHEEL seen my boy Mike T. And I was actually there that day they shot that photo. I wish I was on the pamphlet, but so he had been a very early adopter of One Wheel. He got it V1, you know, pretty shortly after the Kickstarter, around the same time that you know, Rob with Flux Mvmt and Jeff with the Float Life got their boards. They were all, Mike T and those guys were all like really early adopters, and then I kind of came in after them because Mike T had brought his One Wheel to the river event, and we we're all kicking it. And he comes cruising around the corner on this crazy electric one-wheeled skateboard thing, and my jaw hit the floor. And just him cruising over to say what's good. Like, I saw a bunch of people talking to him, asking him about it, asking to ride it, and all this stuff. So when he came over, I was kind of hesitant. I didn't want to be, you know, just another person asking to ride his board, but I had to. I was like, bro, I just need to taste it a little bit. Let me just hop on it. And I hopped on it. What's up?
No, go ahead. I thought, yeah, go ahead.
I hopped on it, and I haven't thought about it in a long time, but I was like, classic first time one wheeler. Just like hopped on it. I was like, whoa, kind of back and forth a little bit on the start. Like, I couldn't even turn it. I was like hopping and skirting it to get the board to turn. Okay. And then I immediately like I was somewhat a kid back then. I was like, Dad, here's the deal. I can pay you back in 3 months tops. I wrote out a whole contract to my dad of like, yo, you loan me the money for this board, I'll pay you back in X amount of time, blah, blah, blah. Like, we wrote out a whole little contract. My old man threw the coin down for me. I grinded real hard, actually paid it back in like 2 months. But then as soon as I got that first board, it's just been nonstop, obsessive one wheel riding, because it's all the board sports put into one that's electronic that you can ride everywhere. Like, you feel the snowboarding, you feel the skateboarding, you feel the surfing, you feel like so many different board sports. I feel it in different aspects of the one wheel. And the best part of the one wheel is like snowboarding. You have to go to a mountain. It has to be snowing. And, you know, there's good snow days, bad snow days, whatever. Surfing, you have to be either in the ocean or in a good section of the river. Skateboarding, you got to either be at a skate park or a good street spot. Like, each board sport has a certain amount of requirements you have to hit for it to be like a good day. But with the one wheel, you feel them all in one board that can ride in tons of different weather conditions and tons of different terrains, and there's not a whole lot holding you back from riding the one wheel. So that's why I just became obsessed with it, is just like the one board that felt like all the boards that I could ride all the time.
That makes sense. You know, that makes perfect sense. So it was a Kickstarter that got one wheel going?
Yeah, they did a Kickstarter in like 2015, I think. And they still have their original Kickstarter board that they did the Kickstarter with. It's so funny. I've heard so many horror stories about it. And it's like, it's got like a button under the heel. There's literally just like a button that sticks out. That's the sensor under the heel. Got pink rails. It's like super OG. But they did a Kickstarter. Kyle Dorkson, the owner, I could be butchering his last name, but I know his name's Kyle. And Jack Mudd, the marketing director of One Wheel, those two guys launched a Kickstarter way back in the day. And I think it was like wickedly successful. I know Jeff McCosker, my boss, the owner of the Float Life, he bought one of the original like Kickstarter campaign boards. And then they just, from there, like, the Kickstarter was super successful. They sent out the first batch of one wheels, and they started putting in, you know, running production of the V1.
Yeah. So what are they in right now? What version are they on?
Well, there's the V1, came out back in the day. Then they came out with the Plus, which was like a slight upgrade from the V1. Different motor, I believe, different controller. They gave like some taper in the foot pads, what a lot of people asked for. That was a Plus. And then they made the XR that looked exactly like the Plus, but went twice as far and had like upgraded firmware, so it rode a little bit better too. So that was the third version, was the XR. And then now we're on the Pint, which is the fourth version. They made like a smaller, lower range, lower speed, kind of like economy version. The one, I think we're on V4 now.
Wow. So that's super interesting because, you know, you said it combines like loads of different aspects. And, you know, you mentioned earlier as well that you really liked stand up, like the water paddling, the whitewater paddling, because it was more of like a niche and like small sport. And, you know, it's interesting. I find a lot of skaters are originally drawn to skating because they see it as a niche, and then find it in time that it's much bigger than it is. I actually wanted to ask, what is your draw to these like smaller sports? Because obviously within skating, if you're a good skater and you've got like good marketability and stuff like that, you can make a decent amount of money, you can have a good career, and you could have done, I'm sure you could have possibly done that being someone who started skating at such a young age. So why one wheeling, even though it's such a smaller industry at the moment? Was it the belief that where it's going to be in the future, or is it that that you just like those smaller sports because it gives you like more like finite crowd and like audience and stuff like that?
I mean, I think ultimately it's a mixture of two things. The main thing is that skateboarding and snowboarding are like my roots, and surfing as well. But I've done those things for a long time. So like I'm not necessarily done with it or burnt out on it, but I've done it for a really long time. And I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of jump into other board sports is I've been skating and snowboarding so long. I like having other stuff that like I like to do that makes me happy, that is super adrenaline filled and really technical, and you can never stop learning from it and keep progressing and doing new stuff. I think there's that aspect. And I think the other thing is that a lot of the niche sports are just niche sports because they're relatively new board sports.
Yeah.
You know, the one wheel, it's relatively new. Whitewater stand-up paddle's been around for a pretty long time, but has gotten publicly popular over the last few years. So I don't think I intentionally go for niche sports because they're niche sports. I think I just end up there because I discover things that I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And it's a relatively new thing. Like I've been riding an electric dirt bike recently, like learning how to do wheelies on an electric dirt bike. It's just, I just run into these things like with whitewater paddling. Somebody told my dad about it, about Paddle Fest. Actually, that was the first event I went to. The first event I went, and Mike T gave me my first river surfing clinic. That's a little cool story.
Mike T's everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's a legend. He's a legend. But we went. Somebody told my dad about Paddle Fest that he taught snowboarding with. And we just went. Like he just brought me. I didn't even know what it was, and we showed up and just looked into the river, and there was people surfing. And then with one wheeling, I was just hanging out, and the one wheel just like cruised around the corner. And with the Sur-On, I just walked outside of a bar in Los Angeles, and this guy had a Sur-On, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And rode it. And so like I've just ended up doing all these things. So I think it's just a mixture of like truly deeply loving and being passionate about skateboarding and snowboarding and surfing, and then these other board sports. I've just discovered them over time and gotten into them, and then they just so happen to be niche sports.
What's Sur-On, dude?
Dude, Sur-On is my favorite thing right now. It's, oh my God. All right. So it's this Chinese electric dirt bike. And
wait, is that the thing that you've been riding on that we've seen on Instagram?
Yeah, that black bike.
Dude, it looks super lightweight. It looks like it's there's very little like just a very little weight to it, very little like components for engine or anything like that, but you can get a wheelie up on it.
Oh yeah, because it's like all it's got is the frame, and then it's just got battery, motor, and controller module. Because that's the cool thing about all these electric vehicles is like all it really takes, like other than the structure itself, you know, and like the rolling parts and everything, it's literally just battery, controller, motor. And you just link together, which is my favorite thing because I've worked on motorcycles with my dad in the past, and I've had dirt bikes when I was a kid, and it's gas engines. I see like people that love that stuff and like to tinker on it. That's rad and that's perfect, but like dirt bikes and gas engines and stuff, you have like the carburetors and the pistons and the gear shaft and like so many different things to maintain. But this bike is literally super easy to maintain. It weighs 115 pounds and it's like 5 horsepower, something like that. It is so torquey on the low end though. You know, once you get up to like 30, 40 miles an hour, that's close to its top speed. So you don't have as much torque on the top end. But it's so easy to just bust up wheelies. Like if you're going slow, you can literally just throttle a wheelie up. You don't even have to like pop it up. And so with one of the reasons I've gotten into it is with Flux Mvmt, a company that I've ridden for many years, and now I'm working for. We are trying to get into like as many electric vehicles as possible. And I myself am trying to just expand myself into more things, because as I'm coming into like my mid 20s, I'm starting to feel more pain, and I'm
Yeah,
starting to
we're gonna
feel
ask you about that, dude.
the
It makes sense.
I was starting to feel the effects of a lifelong of eating shit and slamming on the ground. So for Flux Movement and for myself, I'm trying to splinter off into more like cool little electric sports. And I'm kind of like, I'll never stop loving and doing board sports, but what I've been seeing in myself recently is I'm starting to shift away from like tons of skateboarding and tons of one wheeling and stuff like that. And I'm kind of starting to find other things and other avenues that I like to do that hit the passion points that I'm looking for, but don't beat the hell out of me.
It's a good, it's an interesting one, dude.
It's a
So
really interesting point.
maybe let's explore that, because there's something about that movement in any one of those disciplines, right? So like, you know, with snowboarding, I picked up snowboarding late, but there is something about, depending on the terrain as well, whether you're in powder, whether you're in whatever, that carving movement there's something that's very, I don't know, it just kind of tingles in your brain when you really kind of get it. It's lovely, right? But it's also, tell me about what is the thing for you? Is it because there's different things going on in skateboarding, as there is dropping in, I'm sure, on a paddleboard, than, you know, one wheeling, than you know, the new what's it called, a Suron motorbike?
Suron.
Yeah, Suron. Yeah. So I mean, have you thought about like what it is that you're vibing on specifically?
Yeah, man. And it's crazy we're talking about this because I've been realizing recently, you know, as I'm really growing up and starting to think pretty deeply about stuff, I've realized that I skate and I snowboard and I do all this stuff because every little trick and every little encounter, every little thing makes me like feel something. It's just, and I say stoke all the time, and I use the word stoke way too much.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of the best way to say it, is like we do these things because it makes us stoked, like it gets me happy. And so I think they all are different feelings, but I think ultimately what it is that I'm vibing on is they all have this beautiful like roller coaster of emotions where you go from fear, like when you're rolling into a trick, typically on my one wheel, on my skateboard, on my snowboard, rolling into a jump on the Suron, I am shitted. I'm terrified a lot of the time. I'm so scared. But then there's that moment where you have to just allow yourself to feel the fear for a minute, and then you just put it behind you, do whatever it is you're going to do. And that's another thing I really like about shredding, is like it's all so technical. Like where a half-inch movement of your foot on your skateboard and a slightly missed flick on the kickflip will completely ruin the trick. Or on the one wheel, if you land just a little bit too on the toes, or you pop it just a little bit too hard, it's all so technical. So it goes from fear to just intense technical brain power analyzation, pop. And usually when you're in the middle of the trick, it's like the most amazing euphoric feeling ever. And then the landing things or completing things, you know, that roller coaster of fear to tech to amazing euphoria to accomplishment. I think that kind of series flows in each of these sports.
Do you know what?
Like,
It's a really good way to put it, dude. Like, I don't think many people have outlined it as that before. And you're right. I'm sure, like, I'm as a skater, when you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, you're exactly right. It is like, as you're rolling up, it's that pure fear. And then as you like hit it, it's like, cool, I've got to think for half a second. And then once that second's done, it's like, cool, let's see what happens underneath me. And if I happen to get my feet in the right position when we go to land, then hey, like good times, and I'll roll away and be happy. But like, yeah, dude, it's weird that you almost go searching for me, I think it's the conquering of doing something that you wouldn't quite like. And you're right. For me as a skater as well, I find that I make the decision to do something almost the last second before I do it. Like even during the roll up, like I'll roll all the way up, and in the last second, I'm like, cool, it's time. Like it needs to be now or never. And I'm like, cool, pop it and go. Or just leave, or like kick out and leave it. Like you've got to make the decision. And I think searching for that ability to overcome that in ourselves. Like I was watching something recently which is called like an eco challenge, and it's basically these people who do a 600-kilometer race in like 11 days. And
shit.
It's like something crazy, and they basically like test themselves to the absolute limit, and all of them say that they do it to see how like far they can push themselves, how
how many barriers they can overcome. And I think in some ways, skaters, especially you mentioned as well, falling over and like your body just taking damage. Like, I mean, I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 22 myself, and I already have like 3 injuries that are long-standing injuries, and will probably be long-standing injuries for the rest of my life from skating. And I know that there is a lifetime on it. Don't get me wrong. There's people like Tony Hawk and the Steve Caballero and Christian Hosoi who are still shredding and still amazing skaters, even though they're old. But they're definitely doing low impact transition, like padded up, like they're taking it a lot easier than some of the dudes who are throwing themselves around. So what you said earlier, again, you're looking as you're getting older to transition to sports that have lower impact on your body. I get that as well, dude. I'm starting to panic about what I'm going to do without skating because it's my home, and I get that, dude. I really understand that.
You know what's interesting is, I mean, if we strip this all the way back to like, so we're basically animals, right? And there's something about humans that like, I don't know if it's like G-force or like, no, like seriously, like if you think about it, like you said, roller coasters or cars that go really fast or surfing when you're dropping in. Yeah, bro, like there's something about like in physics where we are pushing against a speed typically on a turn, right? And feeling that as we go around, there's something that really unlocks for us, isn't it? I mean, with skating, it's a little bit different. It's more along the lines of...
Depends what type of... If you're doing downhill bombs, it's exactly the same thing.
True.
If you're downhill longboarding, it's exactly the same thing.
Pumping around a bowl, dude, when I'm pumping around a bowl on my skateboard, feeling that G-force, like pushing me against the wall and pumping out of transition, totally. That's totally right. I've never heard somebody say that, but that's so true. Just like that feeling of, the G-force. It just tingles you. It just fills you full of stoke.
It's physics. It's that physics magic that like we can't comprehend, but that you learn about in school, that you're like, when it happens, it's that whole thing when you go on a roller coaster for the first time, or like you go in an elevator that drops really fast and your stomach's like, whoa, and you're like, what the fuck was that? We're just weird creatures that like to experience things that aren't the day-to-day gravity, air resistance, like standard shit that we fucking deal with on a daily basis.
But I'm wondering, like in the animal kingdom, like if you think about birds, how they bomb, and they like cut lines and stuff like that. I wonder if they're feeling the same thing, or like, you got like fish in the ocean, like dolphins that are ripping it up and stuff like that. There's probably, or dude, what about the bulldog on the skateboard that's like doing?
Exactly. That's another great point.
I think it might just be like an animal thing. We love, as animals, there's something that unlocks in our brain with speed that's being pushed along, just that little bit of gravity that's being pulled unlocks something in our brain, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah. So and then people get obsessed with that. They take it to the extreme, and then that's how you get base jumpers and skydivers and
that's so true.
Rally car racers and stuff. But something I wanted to mention that you made me think of when you're talking about that big race. Something I've been kind of finding interest in, and I've been wanting to do some research on, is Stoicism, which is like kind of ancient Greek philosophy and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that this guy, what was his name? It was like Mercury or something.
It's Marcus Aurelius.
He's like, it's a shame. It's something around the lines of this, but it's like, it's a shame if a man gets to the end of his life and hasn't experienced like his full physical capabilities, which is like, if you go throughout your life and are not like testing yourself and pushing yourself and just seeing like, how smart can I get, how strong can I get, like how can I go, how fast can I go, like how good can I get at how many things. Like I think what it is we all have an instinctual drive to push ourselves and do more and be better and get stronger. And some people bury that instinct, I think, and they're just, chill out, hit the bong, play some video games, fucking hang out with their friends, go to the bar, go to work, just hang out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But some of us just have that desire to just push and just keep going and do more and figure out like how good can I possibly get as a human being. I think that's definitely one of the things that drives me, one of the things that drives people, I feel like.
I think you're totally right. And I think, you know, it's so funny you mentioned that. I had a conversation with myself the other day when my girlfriend was at work and I was at home doing some work by myself. And I like stopped for a second. I was like, God, I'm real skinny. I was like, you know, I'm in my 20s. I'm like, if there was ever a time to bulk up and get ripped and be happy and be like real like muscular, it's now, because it's not going to be in like 20 years. I'm like, I'm doing all this work in front of a computer. I was like, you should at least do some press ups and sit ups here and there. It's like, so you're so right. Like in terms of like, in my head, I was like, God, if I don't do it now, there just won't be time for it later. So I was like, at some point, I need to budget in some time to do that while I'm in my 20s. And I think your point on stoicism, we actually spoke to a was it
it's an Olympian judoka.
Yeah, we spoke to a judo player who's British, who's been in the Olympics, and he tries to follow a lot of stoic philosophies and stuff like that, and he's done a bunch of like research into it and whatnot. And yeah, it's super interesting that's it's funny. I read a lot of the Stoic philosophies, and I see that they line up with Buddhism in many different ways. But it seems like Stoic philosophies are almost written for like a leader of a country. It's almost like this is your philosophy if you were gonna like run the world, you know. I think it's really interesting, and Stoicism as a whole is a really great. Anyone who hasn't read up on it should really get in. Like even just a wiki, 5 minutes. Like having a check on it. It's super interesting, and it comes with some really nice beliefs that are, and if you're into Buddhism, very similar to Buddhism, just minus some meditation, I guess, really.
And I would also say your point about just kind of challenging yourself. I mean, this is also just part of really elite training. You know, that there's certain moments in training, whether you're a fighter or a runner or, you know, basketball player, whatever, that you want to go. So most of the time you're in that sort of 80 to 90% of max. You know, you never want to go up over because you overtrain, you get injuries or whatever. But every now and again, you want to hit the gas and just get up there, up to 100%, and really kind of feel what that feels like. Because that then pushes that 100% just a little bit further. And you can then understand kind of how you can expand your capabilities. So it's a really good point. Different for training and for you know, athletic competition, but definitely aligned with what you're saying.
Yeah. So do you know what? And bringing it back to the whole physics thing and like overcoming stuff, I wanted to ask you, because going from a skateboard and a snowboard, which I know are in of themselves, they're very flat. They're very like, there's not a whole lot of wiggle or movement dependent on how loose your trucks are and things like that. But if you're street skating, few people have like crazy loose trucks and things like that. So
unless you're day one song.
Yeah, unless you're day one song and you have no fucking bushings. You're a crazy fucking man. You like how is the transition to one wheeling, where it's all about like gyroscope and, like you said, learning to turn, where it's about like momentum so that you can like swing it around and whatnot, and overcoming that? Was that like a big barrier to overcome, or did you find that was maybe one of the first things that you got the hang of?
I don't think it was a big barrier to overcome. For me, it came to me really naturally, and I think it's because of my like multi-board sport discipline.
Yeah.
You know, like the front and back of the one wheel feels like balancing on my paddleboard, like racing or in the ocean. You know, my race board and my ocean surfboard are really hard to stand on. So that front to back balance is kind of ingrained in my soul.
Wow.
And then, like, I don't know, it's just like every board sport complements a different aspect of the one wheel. And I think that's why I picked it up so quickly. And I think that's why I've been able to push it so far. But it definitely did take some time to understand how to like really throw that board around. You know, as far as like basic tricks, you know, I was doing like little reverts and shove-its and stuff like that pretty quick. But to really do advanced maneuvers and really rip around trails and really stay in control and do technical stuff with the spin slides and the sex changes and all that stuff, it definitely I wouldn't say it was a hurdle. It was more like a fun project. Like I had a pretty good understanding of it in the beginning, and then it was just diving deeper and nitpicking and figuring out more and more. But I'd say it was fairly easy just because of where I came from. But I can imagine if you're you know, if you're just skate or you just snowboard and you hop on a one wheel, I feel like it would be super wonky for a little while figuring out how to maneuver it. But I think definitely surfing. I think the combination of surfing and skateboarding is what allows me to do what I do on the one wheel, because I've done both of those for so long.
Yeah.
And like the turning on a surfboard in the river and in the ocean is very similar to the turning on the one wheel, at like slow, medium speeds. And then the turning on the one wheel at like kind of higher speeds is very similar to carving down a mountain on a snowboard. And shifting the one wheel is very similar to a snowboard. Popping the one wheel is very similar to a skateboard. There's just all those just separate kind of things. But
When you're going up a ramp, you're staying level though, aren't you? Going up a ramp, or you're actually pushing forward a little bit to stay moving forward, which is a different feel probably than going up on a skateboard, which you're actually changing your angle. That looked kind of weird. Was that weird to kind of get a hang of at first?
yeah, definitely. And then like every ramp or like angled surface or whatever is, you kind of have to ride it differently. You know, like mellower ramps, I'll accelerate up it, but if anything's kind of steep, I try to come into it really fast and then get to the ramp and level out and basically just maintain my speed. Because with the one wheel, it has to be able to lean forward to move, and if the ramp gets too steep, then the board can't lean anymore and you just get kind of blocked. But if you come in super fast and then you just level out, the one wheel is able to kind of climb up stuff a little easier. So it depends on the what it is, but it's definitely like very different to any board sport. Like trying to get up on a quarter pipe on a one wheel is the weirdest thing ever.
That's
On
what I saw, man. It looks like you're going up and you're going. It's almost like you're going up an elevator. Kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, quarter pipes are especially weird because you have to come in super fast, and then you get to the quarter pipe and you have to like slow down to get your nose up, but also keep your body forward to get up over the top of it. Like it's the weirdest thing ever. Whereas on the skateboard, you just kind of pump up it and then do whatever you do at the top. Same on a snowboard, you just kind of pump up it. But on the one wheel, you gotta like do all these crazy calculations to do it right to get up to the top of it.
Dude, let me ask you a question, because I'm not sure if you've been asked this before, but how's it feel to be a fucking pioneer of a sport? How's it feel to be like within the Rodney Mullins and the Stacy Peraltas and, you know, the Jay Adams of a sport, dude? You're one of the guys that's really pushing one wheeling forward and inventing tricks and stuff. How does that feel, dude? That must be pretty special thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I definitely am aware of that fact, and I find it to be really cool. It's like it's almost so rad and so unique that it almost doesn't really feel real, because there's been so many people I've looked up to, and people that have formed the sports that I've been a part of, and growing up, I always, you know, aspired to be those people or ride like those people. And I don't know, being one of the pioneers of one wheeling is really cool. It's really special. Like to be able to create a trick and like watch other people do something you created is definitely a really special feeling. And you know, putting on these events and showing up to events and teaching people and doing all these things, it's pretty cool. But like, I don't know, I guess I try not to think of myself in that way, because you know, I've had experiences with you know, professional riders of other sports that are just total dickheads, and they think they're like the hottest shit since sliced bread. And so I think I acknowledge that I am one of the pioneers of the sport, so that I take it seriously. You know, I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm fucking one wheeler number one, dude. Like this is my shit. You know, I made all this kind of stuff. Like I acknowledge it to know, like I have to take it seriously. Like I want to be a pioneer of this sport to help make it the best it can be and make it the coolest it can be and help people grow and like push the sport in a really cool direction. So it doesn't get whack like rollerblading or something like that. But
sure.
yeah, I think of myself as a one-wheeler just like everybody else, because I am.
Yeah.
Like I because of the history I've had and the skill I came into one-wheeling with, and I came into it very early. I've had an advantage over people, but and it's given me the opportunity to be like the first person to do certain tricks and the first person to put out like a major film and the first person to do whatever in this. But ultimately, I am just another person that likes to ride one wheel. That's the way I think about myself. Is I've had more time on it. I've had more time on other boards, so I can do more things than most other people. But ultimately, we all love this board and we all like to ride this board. And that's like the way I think of myself. It's like the way I think of myself in the community is not like the pioneer and the guy that works for Float Life and Flux Mvmt and all this stuff. Like I'm just another one wheeler, and I've got cool opportunities and I've done some cool stuff, but I try to not think of myself as like the pioneer. But to answer your question, it feels pretty sweet.
dude, like I think that's super humble of you to say, and it's very reminiscent of listening to Rodney Mullen and people like that who you know there is mad humbleness out there within the upper echelons of the dudes. And I think, dude, hearing you say that is one of the reasons why you are so revered by loads of people. You know, we've had people blowing up the chat already of the live stream saying that you're a mad inspiration and that they love you. And I think, like, honestly, dude, that's how it goes. You know, you've come in, you've come, be humble. You're, not to mention, I saw on your website that you're offering lessons to people. You know, you're making yourself available to the public. You know, some people, like, I mean, just to throw a name out there, like Boo Johnson, to get in contact with Boo Johnson is a fucking joke. Like, to get in contact with like some professional skaters is a joke. Like, it's not a thing. So the fact that you're making yourself readily available, the fact that you have, you know, these tip tricks and like and stuff that you're doing on YouTube and stuff, you're just doing it in the right way. You're leading a sport in a really correct way, and I think that's awesome, man. I think there's so few people that do see themselves in that way, are able to reflect on it and able to make a strong decision in that way. It sounds like you've been instilled with some good morals from a young age. It sounds like, you know, you mentioned earlier when you asked your dad for your money, you're like, I will pay you back in 3 months, and you worked your ass off to pay it back in 2. I'm not sure whether that was with pocket money or whether you're working a job. But you know, I can see, dude, that there's some like real, what I would call just wholesomeness within you, and just this want to improve and be a good person. And I think that's badass too. I think every sport needs one of these people out there who's doing that. So I take my hat off to you massively, dude.
Thank you.
In saying that, dude, I'd love to show, let's show the people some of these incredible tricks that we are talking about. Let's watch a little bit of your video part. Are you sound with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. 1 second. Let me pull that up, guys, so you can see what we doing, right? There we go.
So, dude, when did you do this video part?
This was like August or September, I think, late August, early September. I showed up, little context of this film real quick, is I showed up to Sacramento. I got offered position as the marketing director of the Float Life, which is the leading parts and accessories manufacturer of One Wheel. And it was fucking incredible opportunity. I've been working really hard for the last 4 or 5 years at making videos and doing content and shredding. So it's like the perfect job. So I showed up, started doing some stuff, and I was like, all right, we need to make like a film. I've been wanting to make a skate inspired one wheel film with a bunch of really badass riders, and everybody gets their own video part, everybody gets their own song. So with this one, I put the message out to all of our riders, told everybody, yo, collect as much footage as you can, and we're gonna do video parts so everybody do a full film. So this video part, my video part, Elijah's and Jeff's and Raquel's video parts were all filmed by me or Elijah or Jeff. We all filmed each other's stuff, and then I edited it, and then all the rest of the footage is from the riders for their video parts, and then I brought it all together and edited a full film. So this is my part out of the film, but the full film's like 25-30 minutes of just ultimate one wheel destruction.
Amazing.
Distant.
Cool. we'll hit play on that, and then I want to talk to you about your filmmaking in a second. So we'll watch a little bit of this. Tell us while we're watching, dude. What's the song and why did you choose it?
Oh, I chose this song. It's called "Unfuck the World" by Prophets of Rage, which is a Rage Against the Machine tribute band. And the reason I picked the song is, one, I love Rage Against the Machine. I fucking
Who doesn't?
Machine. I grew up. My dad was a major influence on me for my whole life, still is. And he's big into like Rage Against the Machine, you know, heavier rock, stuff like that. And I really like Rage Against the Machine because they're an LA band. And Flux Mvmt is out of LA. I got a lot of love for LA. I got family there. And I love rock and rap. Those are like my two top music genres. And it's like the beautiful merging of the two. And so these guys are a tribute band, and the song is called "Unfuck the World." And when I made this video and this video part, it was kind of the height of the riots and the virus and the race war stuff and the red versus blue, right versus left stuff, and like everything is just going crazy. In this song, I found this song that had the right vibe and the right words. Like if you listen to the chorus, it says like some blank faces, no races. Like the song is basically about like unfuck the world, like just be cool to each other, stop looking at people for their color and for what they believe in, who they are, like just unfuck the world and rock out and have a good time. And so I thought it fit really well with the times if you listen to the lyrics. And then whenever I make a video, I think about how I want it to feel, and I start with the song. I always get the song first. And so as I was looking around, I was figuring out something that felt right. And this song, just like when a song gets my head bopping while I'm listening to it, and it just like really fills me up, starts stoking me out, then I use it. And so this one, I just like, it felt right and the words lined up with what was going on, and picked this song.
Amazing, dude. First of all, dude, we need to hang out. It sounds like we're the same. We're both Bodhi, and rock and rap are my two genres as well, actually. Like, holy. So that's badass, dude. No, I feel what you're talking, dude. Rage Against the Machine is one of the greatest bands of all time. They make amazing music, and the fact that they were around during the original Rodney King riots, we're looking at, years of them having made music in name of, I guess, renegade, rebelliousness. I love it. I think it's a great choice. I think the name Socially Distance is a great name for the video. I think there's a lot of really great aspects here. I think a lot of the filming you've done is absolutely sick. Some of the shots are really, really beautiful. I wanted to ask a couple of questions about like the one wheel trick. So I'm not proficient in one wheeling in any way, shape, or form. How hard is it to like boink it off one of these like curbs and get like some air? How hard is, like, do you call that an ollie or like popping it? What's that called? Like you did off that rock just then.
They call it a bonk. I don't really know how it got named, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it got named a bonk a while ago, and actually some of the OG longtime one wheelers call it a Bodhi bonk, which I love.
Nice.
But they call it a bonk. I'd probably call it a boink if it was up to me. Boink just kind of, it's a little funnier.
So is it named after you because there's an element of that you have a style that is
I do it
named that way?
I just do it the biggest. That's really what it is.
Gotcha, man.
What you doing? Yo, it's Jeff McCosker. This is the owner of the Float Life right here.
Hey guys.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, brother?
Lovely to have you, brother.
Oh,
look at your glasses.
Yeah, I got glasses. The optometrist said I have 6 years left of eyeballs, and then they're going to be shot.
Oh, well.
So
Heck yeah, they look good.
Yeah, little blue light blockers on them too. So, hey, good seeing you guys. I got to go.
Hey, pleasure meeting you, dude. Pleasure meeting you. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. So, dude,
yeah,
I
think it came from this one clip back at Float Life Fest 1, the first like really big one wheel event. It was like this big clip, and then it came to the Bodhi bonk and all this stuff. But is it hard? It's not hard to bonk and just like kind of get it off the ground, but it's pretty techy to bonk high in the air and far and keep the board on your feet. Like it has to be the most perfect pop and jump to get really high and keep the board on your feet. On a skateboard, when you ollie, Bodhi, I know you know this, when you ollie on a skateboard, you pop and you slide your foot. And while you're sliding your foot, it's keeping the board kind of locked onto your feet.
Talked about that today.
Yeah. So
we
with
literally
the
talked about that earlier today. I was like, how does anyone pop?
Yeah. It's literally just, you're just bouncing the tire off the ground, and then just like, you have to jump at the right power and height matched with how your board's going to bounce. So you kind of have to have a good feeling for what heights of the bonk you're going to bounce your board at different heights, and then you jump. And if you get the jump just right and absorb your legs just right, it just stays like pushing up into your feet almost. And then as you feel it kind of lighten up on the bottoms of my feet, I start kind of slowly pushing my feet down to stay on it and then land. So it is pretty tricky for sure.
I was gonna say it's beautiful, dude. There's like some of those tricks, and especially like what I would call maybe like a no slide, or like the crook grind you did along that rail and then hopped over, was honestly, first of all, the shot, the slow-mo, the fucking trick was beautiful. I was just like, oh. And we've had loads of people who have been watching saying that edit goes fucking hard. So many people are like, that is a badass edit.
You know what's interesting is with a new sport, like, like there's not a real understanding of the technical difficulty yet. Like if you see something, a skateboarder on Instagram, and they land something, just from the history of how the sport has evolved, how hard that trick has been, right? But with one wheel, because it's so new, there's aspects of it that you're like, that was pretty cool. But I mean, me personally, I'm like, not sure whether that was like a 10 difficulty or like a 6 difficulty, just because it's so new. And also there's just no sense of, like you were saying, just going up a quarter pipe is a whole fucking different thing, right? That you don't even understand the difficulty of just getting that bit going before you do something at the end of that. So there's an element to that of just like figuring all that out as a viewer, like how much, something is super hard or not very hard at all.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about one wheeling is, people always ask me like, you think there's gonna be one wheeling in the X Games? And I'm kind of like, I don't know. At this point, no. Like one wheeling super fun, but for the average person that doesn't ride a one wheel, half of the stuff that we do doesn't look hard, and it doesn't really look cool either. Like I know that for sure. And that's the kind of funny thing about one wheeling is you'll see certain stuff and you're like, oh, that was kind of cool, and it doesn't really look that hard, but really the trick was super technical and difficult. And that's just like kind of the funny thing about one wheeling is it's a little kooky to watch. There's some people on the Facebook groups that are like, yo, like, why does one wheeling have to be so boring to watch? Which is true, which is one of the main reasons why I make videos of one wheeling, because I feel like I've kind of figured out a way to make it look cool and look fun. And bring kind of like that skate style into it, because it is kind of wacky. Like if you haven't ridden a one wheel and you watch a one wheel video, there's no, like you said, like everybody knows skateboarding. Most people know skateboarding. It's like a common household sport at this point. And a lot of people have a pretty good understanding of like, oh, that looked really hard and that was crazy. Because also like skateboards can go really big. Like you can launch 20 feet out of a half pipe on a skateboard, or you can kick flip front board a 10 stair handrail, but on the one wheels we're limited. We can't really do giant pops and fly up quarter pipes and stuff like that. So it doesn't look as fun and exciting, and it doesn't look like super technical to your average viewer. But then once you hop on a one wheel, try a couple things, you go back and watch that and you're like, whoa, holy smokes. Like that is actually really hard. Because I think a lot of us, like myself, Jeff McCosker, Kyle Hansen, Ryan Sherwood, Elijah Soto, a lot of us top riders, we make it look easy because we're able to do it. Like a lot of people comment that a lot. Like we do make it look easy, but a lot of the stuff that we're doing is really tricky. It's like really techie stuff.
Do you know what? It reminds me of early days when me and Tom. By the way, I'm not sure if we mentioned that's my dad. We're father and son. And yeah. So we got into martial arts and like mixed martial arts and UFC and stuff like that when I was probably like 14, 15. and we've been like hardcore fans since then. And it's funny when you watch someone who's never seen the sport before watch an MMA fight and they see the two dudes up against the cage or on the ground, for example. Typical examples are, for example, up against the cage. You guys might see two guys hugging and like kind of rustling up against the cage and not much action. Where to me, I see underhooks, I see dudes fighting for position, I see head position being fought for, I see, oh, you're trapping your legs in a position so that you can't get a double leg. He's trying to link his hands behind his butt, you know, all this kind of stuff that we as people who understand the sport see the finite, the small details of what's going on. And I think unless you're a part of it, and it's so funny, as a skater, I will show Tom, like Tom at this point has seen me skate enough, and we've been to a couple skateboard competitions, that you understand when something is difficult versus when something's relatively simple. However, there's times where you will be like, you'll show me a clip and be like, what is he doing? I don't know what this is. What are his feet doing? How's the board rotating? Like break it down for me. And I'm like, okay, so he's doing a hard flip. One foot's going this way, the other foot's going this way, and the board rotates like that. And you know, so it's something where when you understand the finite details of it, it looks and sounds and is so much more impressive. But to the common person, it like you said, can sometimes look unimpressive. Like people, for example, within the skate world that have more minimalistic styles, you know, Daewon, if you do just look at his manual stuff, and if you got like a video of just him doing manual stuff, people would be like, huh? But when you then see his full repertoire and you understand the difficulty of those manual tricks, you're like, what the fuck, you know? So yeah, you know, you're like, it's just ridiculous. So the other thing I wanted to ask you though, and you brought up how you feel like you can make one wheel filming look like gritty, bring that like skate kind of vibe to it. I also noticed on your website that you offer like filming for other services. You offer for like weddings, for like a bunch of stuff. I wanted to ask you, what's your contrast in filming? How do you feel about like filming weddings and stuff like that versus filming like a skate park and stuff? Do you enjoy both of them equally? Do you get as creative with both, or do you find that with the skating stuff, it's your like core, so you get more creative there?
I feel like, I think the best way to answer that question is with the roots. I got into filming because growing up, until I got out here, I never had like my clique that I shredded with. Like I always was either by myself skating or snowboarding. In the early days, I was with my dad, but typically I was like by myself. And then I had a couple like groups of homies I'd go link up with. But I never really had like my crew growing up. So I never had anybody to film me all that often. And
why is he me?
Am I muted?
No. I said, why are you me? You're literally me. Oh my God. You're recounting my life story as well. Go on, continue. Sorry, dude.
Good. So I never really had anybody to ride with growing up, and I just kind of kick it. And I really was interested in seeing myself ride. Like it sounds really egotistical, but I didn't have anybody else to holy shit, I'm just realizing this right now. I didn't have any homies like with me to impress and like show off my skills. Like, cause once you accomplish something or you figure something out, you want to show somebody, you know? And so like, I never really had any homies where it was like, I dropped the tray bomb down the, you know, the 3 set for the first time. And everyone's like, oh shit, I'm like, oh shit. You know, I'm out there by myself. And so I put my phone on a rock or like on, you know, sometimes I like take my hat off and like set my phone up on my hat. Like I've gotten really good at the old ghetto tripod, and I just film myself skating. And then I put that stuff out to the internet and show people like what I was able to do. And that just kind of picked up, and I was doing a little more of that. And then I took a film photography class in high school and just fell in love with creating images and content and cameras and composition and lighting and editing and exposure and all that stuff. And so that turned into like me starting to actually make stuff. You know, I got my own camera, I got all this stuff, and I realized that I could make money doing it. You know, my goal from a young age was always like, I want to make money having fun doing cool stuff. Like that was my main goal. And the idea was through shredding and be like pro skater, pro snowboarder, something like that. But I was like, okay, I can make videos and like make some money off of this if I do it freelance, not just like this personal stuff. Cause at that point I had just been doing a bunch of like just taking photos for myself, throwing a couple on the gram, doing some film stuff, making some videos. And I was like, all right, well, let's try to like make a living out of this and get some money from it. So I started doing freelance and my own like passion projects. You know, I did like a couple of vlogs a little while back, and I do like shredding edits, and then I got into freelance, and that's actually from my senior year, like the end of my senior year of high school until this job. That was my main gig, was doing freelance work. And it was really cool because I wanted to do it for clients, and I wanted to do it as best as I could. And I also wanted to do it for myself, because I've always had a vision of making films. Like I wanted to make little edits and do little things to really get good at filmmaking and telling stories and shooting stuff well and getting gear and all that. Because the end goal was always like, I want to make big stuff. I want to make skate films. I want to make snowboard films. I want to make one wheel films. My main goal is to make films that had something to do with shredding. You know, even if it was like a short story about a skateboarder's, you know, a certain struggle in a skateboarder's life, to take that out and create a story about that, or to make a big story about a team trip going somewhere or something like that. So I dove in really, really deep and would just consume so much. I'm YouTube University. I got a master's degree from YouTube University. You know what I mean? I was just crushing YouTube videos all the time, learning about filmmaking, doing, you know, weddings. And what I mainly did freelance was promotional stuff for like small businesses, like little edits for clothing companies and product photography and a lot of that stuff. And so I got really deep into that, and then did more and more of my own personal stuff and shredding. So that's kind of my story. And so I do enjoy doing the freelance stuff, because I get to tell stories, I get to make videos, I get to get creative and frame things in a certain way and do that whole creative process that I really like. But ultimately, I much prefer doing shred based content, because that's like where I come from. That's my roots, is like what I am now started from me being alone at the skate park, setting my phone up on a rock, trying to make, you know, slap a couple clips together with the song over it. And now I've learned these things, and I'm able to have these opportunities to make shredding edits and films and keynotes and all that stuff. So I'm down with the weddings and the promotional stuff and all that, but it feels more like a job, you know, where I'm like showing up. I've got my client is essentially my boss, and I need to make something where my creative spin is on it, but also it's what that person or that company wants and is looking for. And that can be stressful in itself. And like weddings are crazy stressful. I'll be straight up, I actually don't really like doing weddings, because weddings, it's like you're just working while everybody's partying, celebrating, having fun, and it's like high stress. You know, if you fuck up and I bobble a little bit on the shot of the first kiss, you know, that I can't be like, yo, hold up, everybody, hold up, run it back, 10 seconds. I need you to walk back up again, reset, everybody reset. I missed the shot. You know, like you can't do that. So they're a little stressful. But when it comes to like the shredding stuff, there's a lot of freedom in creating shred content, because it's kind of like painting a painting. You know, you kind of are able to let your creativity flow and do whatever and just kind of see what comes of it, instead of being like, okay, it needs to be this, or it needs to look like that, or it needs to hit these points, there needs to be these things. But ultimately, like shredding is the most fun. But as long as I'm able to get creative and make a video, I'm stoked. You know, like I'm happy with all of it, but I prefer to do the shredding stuff, because that's what my soul desires.
That's what.
Thanks for watching this episode. We really appreciate you supporting Homie and the Dude.
Please hit us with the Holy Trinity, like our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram. Just search @Homie and the Dude. It all really helps.
That's incredible, dude. I think, you know, it's a really great way to put it. And, you know, me and Tom put it in an interesting way. I'm not sure if you'll appreciate this or not, but we call it sucking the dick. We're like, sometimes you gotta pay the man, you gotta suck the dick, you gotta go to work and do some shit so that you can do the fun stuff. And it's just how it goes. You sometimes have to battle the hard stuff so that you can enjoy the good stuff. And it's interesting that you say that there's this, you know, this contrast between your work and whatnot. And I wanted to ask, because you mentioned specifically like shred related content and like and all that stuff. do you have inspirations within like Hollywood film, or are your film inspirations like dudes like Mike Mangiuri, like Burn Dog, like those guys, or are you looking at like Tarantino, Spielberg, Cameron, like where are your filmmaking inspirations?
That's a good question. I think for me, I'm almost always shooting for a really sweet mix of like OG skate film vibe with beautiful cinematic film vibe, because I love cinema. I can't watch reality TV. I can't watch like just basic shit. Like my brain, my heart lights up with a well-written story and beautifully shot shots, and where your shots are telling the story, the way you're framing it and composing it in smooth buttery shots with specific color grade to control the emotion. And like I love to create stuff that has like that mix of cinema, beautiful cinematic shots and storytelling with a little bit of that OG skate vibe with the wide angle low shots, kind of like some shaky stuff. Like that's kind of my style, and my inspiration is a little mix up of cinematic with original style skate filming mashed into one. And I wouldn't say like I don't think I have a specific like film style, like Tarantino or specific people. I kind of allow, when I was first trying to find my style, I was looking for a specific style to stick to. And then I realized that I kind of want my style to constantly ebb and flow. And I don't want to get locked to one thing to where I'm working on something and then it has to still be that thing. Some people would probably say that's the wrong call because I bounce around a little too much and won't have like my specific style. But I kind of made that decision. That's kind of how I wanted to run it. And so I look in so many different areas for my inspiration, and I just kind of consume as much content as I can that's going to inspire me and is going to push my creativity. I watch a lot of like YouTube kind of breakdown videos, unboxings, and technical videos of like popular, really really good YouTubers to get inspiration from that. Like in one of my trick tip, you mentioned my trick tips. I do these TFL trick tips on the Float Life's YouTube channel. I got an inspiration for a really funny shot from MKBHD, a tech YouTube guy, and then I watch fucking thriller movies, and the thriller movies are like, I like to watch thriller movies because it's intense cinema. And like my skating, snowboarding, shredding is in my style is intense cinema, where it's beautiful and cinematic, but what's going on is fucking hectic. And seeing the way that they like push in on stuff and shoot things, and the way they're color grading it, and the way that they're flowing from one shot to the next. And like action scenes are similar to shred scenes. You got the cut of the person coming in for the punch, and then you cut to the punch. And on the skating, you coming in of the roll up, and then you cut to the close in wide angle, get the action. So I just kind of bounce around with a lot of different stuff and let tons of different things inspire me and flow me in whatever direction. And I just kind of let it run.
That's nice one, dude. Your lighting as well is pretty gritty. Some of your night shots and stuff, they're very like sort of low and focused, that type of thing as well. Yeah, you get that feel. Dude, I got a question for you. So I'm thinking about the old like Z-Boys and how they used to ride a certain type of deck, right? So it was like, the Christian Hosoi wide, sometimes they had a little tail on them, short trucks with, like crypto bigger wheels, and they probably had no idea how equipment would evolve, over the course of decades, really. They just had what they had, and they did tricks off, and they did when they were fucking amazing with them.
Yeah.
If you were to conjecture like what ONEWHEEL needs or what you'd like to see in ONEWHEEL, technology-wise, whether it's weight or more horsepower or more whatever, what would you like? And it just can't happen right now because of battery life or whatever it is. What do you see like 5 years, 10 years down the road with the sport?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that we could do to improve the ONEWHEEL majorly right now. But the XR that we have today is, for the most part, the exact same XR we had when it came out in 2017. So that's been kind of tough for us. And that's one of the reasons Float Life exists, is because we want the boards to be stronger and to be able to do more and ride differently. And One Wheel doesn't change anything about the board, so we do. And we've made some adjustments to some changes and made some parts. So hopefully, and honestly, I don't even think One Wheel's working on their next board yet. I think they're still just chilling on the Pint and the XR. And my fear actually is that they're going to be like, okay, we have the XR, we have the Pint, those are fine. Let's go make another vehicle. Oh, sorry, he's got the air compressor on. But that's one of my fears, is that they're actually going to be like, Pint, we're good. XR, we're good. We got like our big board, we got our small board. And then maybe they're going to make like a bike next, or like a scooter or something like that.
Wow.
But if they do, if they're finally like, okay, we'll listen to the riders, like they bring us in and we all figure out the next One Wheel and make something that's going to be like really sweet and what we need, what I would want is swappable batteries is like the main thing. Like if I could have swappable batteries, even if the batteries were like $500 each, I'd stash the coin away and get a few of them. But if we were able to swap the batteries out, that'd be really sick, because you could just have a battery in your backpack, be riding, board dies, pull it out, swap it out, throw a freshie in there, and you're all good. So swappable batteries would be big for me. And then obviously like weight reduction would be really sweet. And I know that's really hard now with technology. That's definitely like a technology thing that we'll have to wait for, because the boards are like 25, 30 pounds. And then each accessory, each thing you add on to it makes it even heavier and heavier. So those things are heavy, bro. Like the way we throw them around definitely makes them look a little lighter than they are. But one heavy objects. So if we could get like 5-10 pounds shaved off that thing, that would open up a lot more possibilities. I'd make it go up hills and up ramps easier, make it so we could pop it higher, make it so we could rip it around a little more. And like, I've been dreaming of getting a backside nose slide, popping over, keeping the nose on the curb into a front side nose slide, but the board's just too heavy to do that. So it would be swappable batteries, weight reduction. Something I've been thinking about. I told my, if anybody's familiar with the Corridor crew, Corridor Digital on YouTube, you fuck with those guys?
Dude.
No,
praise Corridor Digital. They're the best content creators on YouTube, dude. They are the best content creators.
I love their channel. I've become friends with Ren. Ren's actually a Flux Mvmt drone pilot, and he's my dog. And after becoming friends with him, I went and checked out their channel. I'm obsessed with their channel. I watch their stuff all the time. But Ren, I was telling Ren about my idea that I want, and he totally fucking roasted me, bro. It kind of got me. So I was like, dude, of the board, because the One Wheel, the sensor is on the front foot pad. It's like a contact sensor, and it just causes all kinds of issues that we go into depth with. But I was like, dude, what if there's some way to put like a weight sensor in the axle, and then when you land on the board, like no matter what angle it's at, like a certain amount of weight is going to trigger the board in the axle instead on the thing. He's like, yeah, I'd like to have Bluetooth bearings. And he just rode off, bro. He just rode off. I was like, oh my God. But he's an engineer. He's really smart, and he thought that was a stupid idea. So I figure like it's probably something that's really hard to do, but something I really want is to figure out how to rework the sensor somehow. Because the sensor, like what we've started to do, the sensor is so hard to work with, and there's two sides to it you have to activate also. And so like you'll land, like I've it's the biggest struggle in my freaking life, bro, is you'll land a one wheel trick, bolts. You'll just stomp the hell out of it perfect, and then it just doesn't reactivate, and you just go off the front. Because the sensors don't quite activate. And so what I would want is to rework the sensor somehow to make it more accurate and activate more for freestyle stuff. And the only thing I could really think of is figuring out how to put a weight sensor in the axle, but it is a kind of weird idea, because what we've done to remedy that is there's a guy, his name is Christian. He is the creator and owner of Diamond Grind Coping, which is this really sick skate coping that's like etched. So when you grind it, it kind of like feels like brick almost, or stone. And he came up with the Posi sensor, which is this button where you peel up your foot pad and you unplug your foot pad from the controller. And then you plug in this button in between the foot pad and the controller that goes down and gets tucked up in the board. And then basically what it does is it turns the two sides of the sensor into one big sensor. It essentially wires them together. And that was really cool. We put it on a bunch of our boards, but the only issue with that is that the plug there's not quite enough room in the plug area for it to fit, because there's the controller modules in the front of the one wheel, and everything comes up around the rails and plugs in, right, basically like the front of the tire, right in front of the tire.
Yeah.
And it's not built for that to be in there. So, hey, that's my buddy Elijah. So it's not really built to be in there, so it pushes on some stuff, and we've had a couple boards get a little damaged from having that in there. So what we do is we open up the controller module, and there's 2 pins behind where you plug the plug into the controller, and it says pad 1 and pad 2, and you just solder them together, and it makes the whole sensor one big sensor permanently, and we call that thermoposi.
And the float life does that?
Yeah. We don't do it like it's not like a service we provide, but it's something that we do to all our boards, because it makes it a lot more responsive when landing tricks and stuff like that. And I honestly think that's something that they could easily do within the app, and something that I really, really hope they do. If they're not going to redo the sensors for us, I hope they at least give us the option to posi our boards in the app, because all they have to do is put a little chip in there that's like on or off, you know, it connects them or doesn't connect them inside the board, and you can just go into the app and just do like permaposi or not permaposi. Yeah, so swappable batteries, weight reduction, better sensor, and then they need to make the rails stronger on these boards. Like they need to make them way stronger. They use really cheap aluminum, and they don't leave enough thread space, so the rails bend and all the holes will strip out over time. So I think if we can figure out another metal to use, or like, because what we've actually Float Life, we're about to drop them really soon here. We have our own rails, we call them homebrew, where we use real 70-75 grade aircraft aluminum. We get rid of the middle hole, we've extended all the threads and made them stronger. But I think they need to be making stronger rails out of the box on these boards, especially as we're pushing into like freestyle and stuff, because ultimately the issue that's basically it. I'm gonna move on to another point. Ultimately, the issue is that Future Motion is a company that makes the one wheels. They made the one wheel as like a commuter vehicle. That was their original goal.
Yeah.
But as soon as 2016, we've been doing tricks on them. In 2017, there was trick competitions, and there's been tons and tons of people doing tricks on the board, and that like the trick aspect and the trail riding aspect is what's turned one wheeling into a sport. And that's why one wheels aren't just commuter vehicles. You don't just see people commuting on them. There's hundreds and thousands of people that are pushing these boards really hard. And one wheel has never, all these years, never really accepted that and catered to that in any way, shape, or form. Like, so I think the issue is that I don't know if they don't care. I don't really know if they don't take it seriously, but they don't put much into making the boards like trick proof.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the components on the board aren't made to be ridden really hard. We just ride them really hard.
That's interesting.
So there's definitely like a lot of areas that the board can improve, and I think it will over the years. My only fear is that they won't make another board and they'll move on to another vehicle, which kind of scares me. Because they have it locked down. They're locked. Like their patents are insane. Like they have the one wheel locked. Nobody's making a one wheel until their patents run out. So it's like if they don't make another board or they don't upgrade their board, we're stuck with whatever we have. And I've actually had a lot of people. Yeah, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me recently telling me that they can't, like they've progressed their one wheeling and now they can't afford to one wheel, because when you start doing tricks and drops and like really start ripping freestyle, you break these boards fairly easily. And not everybody has somebody around them that can fix them. Not everybody's able to fix them themselves. Like I got homies that are like, yeah, dude, I like straight up can hardly one wheel anymore. And like, if I didn't work for Jeff and live here in Sacramento, I probably wouldn't be able to afford a one wheel either, because I break boards like crazy, and Jeff is just constantly fixing my boards. But I think one wheels have a lot of room to grow, man. I think like if they start listening to us and start upgrading stuff, I think one wheels are going to get insane, and one wheeling is going to get insane. It's going to hopefully get to a place where it's really sick to watch. Because if we got light boards, and the other thing, one thing that I forgot about that I would want to see is a lot more torque. Because if we have torque in the boards, we would be able to get up more stuff and do more stuff. Because I feel like if we had enough torque and enough weight reduction, we could actually like hit transition.
Yeah.
Like I just want to see one day when a one wheel is able to ride a bowl. You know, you drop in a bowl and fucking carve up on the sides and come up and like back tail back in or something like that. We need more torque on the boards. But I think within like 5 years, I'm gonna call it 5 years, we'll probably have another board that'll be hopefully catered a little more towards freestyle riding. And I'm connected with a lot of the people that work for One Wheel, and I've told Jack a bunch of times. I've been like, bro, like let's make a fucking extreme board. And I've talked to a lot of people in the community. They're like, I would pay $2,500, $3,000 for a rugged one wheel, like a badass one wheel. And Jack's actually down. Jack's told me, he's like, dude, I'm down. We got to figure that out, do that eventually. So I think eventually they will, at the very least, have me come in, if not a group of upper echelon one wheelers, and be like, all right, let's make the best board we can make. Like that. I'm waiting for that day. I'm praying for that day when they're finally like, all right, come cruise down to Santa Cruz. Let's do some testing. Let's do some talking. Let's figure out how we can make the dopest one wheel. Cause that's what this is all about, man. Like the Float Life, Future Motion kind of battles us a little bit because we are competitors. We both make parts and accessories for the one wheel. But the only reason Float Life exists is to make the one wheel stronger and better.
Yeah.
That's ultimately our entire goal. Our goal isn't money motivated. Our goal isn't to piss them off. Our goal isn't to drive Future Motion under the ground. Our goal isn't to outsell them. All that we want to do is make one wheeling as fun and as good as it can be. That's what everybody wants to do. So I'm hoping eventually one day, because everybody that works for One Wheel is fucking awesome people. It's just, I think one day they'll all be able to, like the upper dudes will be able to be like, okay, let's start talking to these guys in the community, these guys that are really pushing the sport, these guys that are making stuff happen, and see what they want to see out of these boards. And like, see, because like if you got a room full of 5 of the best one wheelers and ask them how to make the perfect one wheel, you probably come out of that room with the sickest board design ever.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like the best one wheel ever. So there's a lot of things that I could see changing and improving in the one wheel. It's just like a waiting game for when they're gonna listen to it, talk to us about it.
Do you know what's a hard thing for you guys? I can imagine. And you said their patents are locked down, and stuff. You know, and the fact that you're also now having to compete with a company that you want to like progress itself. You almost are like, yo, do your thing so I don't have to do your thing for you, and then don't be mad at me when I do your thing for you because you suck at doing your thing. Like, come on now, dude. It's your job. And I fully get that, dude. I can, because also as well, like the other thing I was just thinking is like, what defines like a professional one wheeler? Obviously making money from whatever career you're doing. But I was going to say, obviously with skaters, you have your name on a board. You get your board for your company, and you become like, there's not companies making one wheels that they can brand, you know, the Bodhi Harrison one wheel that has a graphic or some grip that's yours and like a setup that is specifically tailored to how you like it that other people could get. But I can imagine that would be frustrating. And not only that, but also going that the uncertainty within a sport that you love. And you would hope that at the end of it, if they did go, hey, we're going to make a different vehicle, or we're going to not make any more vehicles, and we're just going to leave it with the ones that we have, you would hope you guys would be able to come forward and be like, we want to take this from you and like, let us at least build on it. Like we'll pay you what you need, but just give us the ability to do something with this, you know? And like you said, you'd be like, I'll pay you back in like 3 months, dude. And I promise you it'll be 2. Like it'll be 2.
I'm actually surprised, dude, that I mean, yeah, patents are locked down to some degree, but you look at just about any electronic thing, once like different parts of the world get hands on it, they just tweak a little something and they can make a different version of it. So my sense is that places like China have not either assessed that the market is strong enough, or do you feel like it really truly is like they can't do it because they would be, they would be subject to patent infringement. Like, I just can't imagine how China wouldn't just be like, if they were like,
I mean, they remade the bullet train that Japan invented, and they just changed some blueprint details and managed to steal the blueprint patterns for the bullet
oh
train.
yeah, dude, look at all the stuff like from Segway, right? The two-wheel Segway. Look, the different, and one wheel basically use the same like gyroscope technology or similar gyroscope technology, but like at some point, like that was locked down, and if you just take certain aspects of technology, put some different materials on it, put some different design to it, tweak the actual components in some certain way. I'm just wondering if like at some point some other players might not just be able to come in the game and say, right, we'll just take this off you. We'll take the extreme part of one wheel off you, and we'll just, we'll cash in on that. Because it sounds like they're making so much money on the commuter part of it. They're just like, fuck it, we're good. Like, let's just cash this in and just be like, easy street, put our feet up.
They're making money off of poor people like Bodhi who are destroying these fucking one wheels. Who are like, shit, man, I gotta get another fucking one wheel now.
How many have you gone through, dude? How many have you gone through?
So many. So many, bro. I've completely put out of commission probably like 4 or 5. And then I've broken them to where they needed to be repaired probably more than 20 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
It's interesting. You go from, and I was going to ask you, what's the injury ratio that you have with one wheeling versus your skating years? And I was then also going to say, like, how often are your one wheels breaking versus snapping a board or like busting a wheel or whatever, the instances happen with skating? What's kind of the relationship between the two in those ways?
Well, my skateboards lasted longer than my most recent one wheel. Yeah, I think it depends on how you ride, man. And like, I've actually had to adjust my riding recently because I was breaking boards too much. And that's one of the reasons I bought this Suron, is literally because I've been breaking one wheels too much. And it got to a point where I was like, I just kept breaking boards. Like, I have a board in right now that they're refusing to service, that I have to do a bunch of stuff because I guess I swapped out a part or two on it, and they won't service your board with swapped out parts.
Dude, can we just stop there? You're like a spokesman of that company. You have a presence on Instagram. You have a presence on YouTube. And all you want, yeah, dude. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't want to cause like any problems here, but I'm just saying, dude, that's weird that they would not make that choice to say, you know what, like,
Bodhi Harrison, for you?
Yeah, we'll hook you up, bro. By the way, this is the 5th fucking one you've bought, so like, the chances are you're gonna buy more down the road as well, and you're progressing the exposure of one wheel. It makes perfect sense. So, I'll leave it at that. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bummer. They have supported me in the past, and they've actually given me a couple of boards. They have supported me for sure, but the reason why they don't hook it up anymore and they don't fix my boards is because I work for the Float Life. Okay. And that's like a conflict of interest for them. But in my opinion, I feel like it should transcend above that. Like, I think we are competitors and everything, but ultimately I have personal relationships with most of those people. And I may work for a competing company, but I also have sold probably thousands of one wheels. I've shaped my entire life around one wheeling, and I feel like I've done a lot for the sport of one wheeling. And so I do feel like at least repair my boards, man. Like,
yeah, I'm not asking for a lot, dude.
But I think that's one of the errors on their end, or more of a missed opportunity, is they've never had like team riders. Yeah. And they tried to do an ambassador thing a while back where you get like a code, and if people bought through your code, then they would pay you for your commission sales. But then that got kind of weird. And so they've never had like a team of riders. And I actually am thinking about getting together a group of homies and putting together a presentation and going to them in Santa Cruz and being like, hey, even if it's not me, you guys got to have some sort of system to help these heavy riders stay riding. Because ultimately what we're doing, like every video I make is an advertisement for them. Every video anybody makes of one wheeling is a one wheel ad, because One Wheel is the only one wheel, Future Motion is the only company that makes them. And so I think all these people shredding really hard, pushing the sport, are all working together. It's not just me. We're all working together to build up one wheeling and freestyle one wheeling and create more of a lifestyle, more of a sport around it. So I think that they should definitely have a group of 5 or 10 homies that are like one wheel riders, that they fix their boards. It's like, hey, you guys are doing us an incredible service by progressing our sport. We don't even have to do anything. We could just get to sit back and watch, and you guys are just pushing the sport. Let us help you. Like, let us help maintain your boards. And I've seen them recently. Actually, they hooked up this kid, One Wheel and Dylan, that's like a new rider that's really shredding hard. They hooked him up with a board. They hooked One Wheel Wing up with a board, who's on the top of the leaderboard for lifetime mileage. He got over like 10,000 miles in a year or something crazy like that. He was putting in like 150 miles a day. And I've seen them recently hook up a couple homies with boards, which is really sick. But that's usually kind of what it is they're just like, yeah, here's a board. I think there's, I don't know. I just wish, I wish I could sit down with those guys and just kind of talk about a lot of these things. Cause I love all of them. I love Kyle. I love Julian. I love Jack. I love the whole marketing team. I love everybody that works for One Wheel, and I love what they do. There's just a couple things where it's like, we need you guys. Like, we need you guys to do these things. We need you guys to support riders. We need you guys to upgrade these boards a little bit. Cause I think what it is they operate like a tech company. They a lot of times they'll compare like stuff to Apple, where they're like, yeah, if you take your board and you go have somebody else fix it and then it breaks and you come to us, like Apple wouldn't do that. Apple's not going to replace a phone with a third-party screen. And I think they think about themselves as a tech company. They think about themselves like they made a tech device, like a phone or a watch or a drone or something like that. But ultimately they created a sport. They created an entire industry, an entire lifestyle. And I don't think they necessarily realize it all the way.
They haven't got the gravitas of the situation that they've put them, so they haven't realized the impact of their actions.
And the thing is, there is a template for this, right? So it's not like they're in.
It's a great point. There's 1,000 templates.
There's 1,000 templates for this. Like, so you know, look at what Nike has done with skateboarding, right? That is the template, right? You sponsor some skaters. You build out an industry around.
You pretend you care about skateboarding.
Yeah, exactly. Just pretending goes a long way. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not like, I guess what you said was pretty accurate, that they define themselves as something different. And so the criteria for success and for new models and all of that is based on something different than what we know actually has worked really well in another sport that's very fucking similar, with the same mindset, you know, same sort of audience basically. So that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I went to school for ski and snowboard business. That's the program I was studying in college. Wow. And that's what I realized. Like, I had all these issues. I didn't have all these issues. I had some things that I was curious about, of like why they were the way they were, you know, in high school as I was getting into one wheeling. And then as I started studying extreme sports business, then it all was clear to me. I was like, oh, okay, like this is what I'm expecting out of them. Like, this is what I want to see. And so I've always been curious, like they've taken a book out of like the tech company, kind of Silicon Valley tech company book, but I think they should be taking pages out of skateboarding and snowboarding and surfing culture and history and lifestyle and marketing and the way to operate the business, because ultimately like I said, they created a sport. They created a board sport, which is not a very common thing. And so I think if they looked at skateboarding and snowboarding and surfing as kind of a guideline or as a place of inspiration for how they operate, I think they would see a lot of positivity and a lot of really good stuff. Because ultimately, like, everything that I want would be beneficial to them. For sure. Every idea I have in my head that I want to tell them about, or ask them about, every single one of them isn't like, oh, this is going to make it harder for you and easier for me. It's like, it's going to make things better for all of us, and it's going to make them more money.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, for some reason, it's not connecting up that there is a huge market share that's being missed by not embracing, you know, sort of the extreme sport element of it. And you're right. Like, I mean, I mentioned Nike, but like, you know, Rip Curl, or, you know, really successful Volcom, yeah, like really successful companies that have done it. They spread out, you know, so it's not just, you know, the deck, it's the riders, it's competitions, it's
The
you know,
socks that they
everything,
wear, it's
dude.
the
Like, it's like
fucking
a
shoes, it's the buttons on their shirts that they wear when they go to their dinner after skating. It's everything.
yeah. So it's like, and you're right. It's not. I guess maybe initially it might be a little bit of a further investment for them to really get into the space and build out the space. But I guess maybe what they're not connecting up is the opportunity of that uncaptured or very small capture of the audience. They could really, really like get the whole thing, especially, dude, now, because if and when the competitor comes, whether they come by trying to tweak that patent or they come just after the patent, when they come, then, you know, we've seen the cautionary tale of companies that were first, but just didn't understand what they had. And then someone else comes in and just grabs the market and just like, oh, we'll just take that. And Nike is one of them, dude. Like, what they've done to the skate industry, a lot of like skaters, a lot of them have real issues with Nike. But they waited and waited and waited. And they're like, you know what? Awesome. You little skateboard companies, you guys do your little thing. We're going to take like 50% of the market, because we're going to have, you know, we're going to sponsor some of the best skaters. We're going to put on events. And that, dude, if there's money in the sport, guaranteed someone's going to come in eventually and say, all right, you guys don't want it, we're going to take it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm kind of worried for them on that aspect of like, it's a bummer, because a large part of the community has a salty taste in their mouth for Future Motion. And they get a lot of really bad energy and some kind of mean shit from people, because of, you know, their repairs and certain different aspects. A lot of people have a lot of issues with them, and I'm worried that somebody's going to come in, figure out how to get around their patent, make a board, and like actually work with the community and do what the community needs and what the community's been asking for, and then Future Motions would just immediately die out, I feel like. Like, that's what I think. They've had this mentality of like, we're the only ones, our patents are really good, because they have patents on like hella different possible renditions of the one wheel. And that's like, they didn't make the one board and patent that. I'm pretty sure they have patents of like every possible way you can make the board that they could think of. Yeah. But I think they've decided like, okay, we've got the patents locked, we're the only ones, and we're just going to kind of operate how we want to operate. And I don't think they've kept in mind the possibility of competition. And what's crazy is that I never really thought it would happen, but a lot of have you seen the EUCs, the electric unicycles?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's becoming competition to one wheels.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like one of the top one wheelers of the one wheel world is a UC rider now. Sly Dog Stroke, one of the most popular. Like, back in the day, it was Jeff, Bodie, and Sly. Like, we were the top three dudes. We all, like, Jeff made a bunch of sick float life content. I made my like bangers and my content, and I was shredding, and Sly Dog was making his videos. Sly Dog was well known for being super fast and just whipping around Chicago. He just like have his 360 camera or his GoPro and make these sick edits going around Chicago. And then Sly Dog actually left one wheeling because of his issues with Future Motion and his struggles with them and what he's gone through with them. And he just completely switched over to EUCs, and a lot of people are switching over to EUCs. I'm seeing in the Facebook group, a lot of people like being like, hey, come ride at EUC, or like, you know, one EUCs are more fun than one wheels because EUCs go faster, they go further. And so it's kind of crazy that one wheel actually in the last year or so, one wheel does have some competition now. So I really hope that they start to be like, okay, this shit's kind of real. electric vehicles are getting really popular. Like we gotta start making these improvements. We gotta figure out, like, we need to talk to these guys and make the improvements to the board, because now they do have competition. I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to get direct competition, like another one wheel that looks similar and rides the same, because of their patents and stuff, which are, I think they go through like 2030 something. They're going to be around for a long time, but EUCs have become their competition now.
And
So they
do you know
do
what?
competition.
It's kind of interesting as well, because to me as well, I'm thinking in my head while you're talking what else one wheels can be used for, and I also go, like, as filmmakers as well, having something that is almost, it's basically your dolly. It's you can whip round next to a car if a car is going slow enough. If you want to then speed the shot up, you can be right next to a car in a chase scene.
Well,
Like,
you see guys rollerblading with a steady cam or on a skateboard with steady cam. I mean, one wheel is 10 times better than that. So
exactly.
you don't have to, like,
One wheel and a gimbal is the dopest thing ever.
yeah.
It's like,
it's so smooth. Yeah, and it's like the practical applications of that. And you mentioned the corridor crew. Those guys are such big users of one wheelers in their videos, and they're such big advocates of filming with it. I'm like, it bums me out that a company would be doing that. Don't get me wrong. I get why they're in the place that you're at, because also it's the whole, you don't want to make a bad sequel. You don't want to do the classic Matrix situation where you make an incredible first movie and then the second one has janky CGI because you're trying to go too hard, and it's like, I get it. I get the idea that they don't want to fuck with something that they've made and they don't want other people to fuck with it. But at the end of the day, like, there's a reason why skateboards, it's so great that everyone could, if you can build a board, if you've got a press and you can shape it yourself to the shape that you like, it doesn't matter what shape it is. It doesn't matter how big your trucks are. It doesn't matter how big your wheels are, what bearings you're using, whether it's Allen key or screwdriver bolts, it doesn't fucking matter. And I think that's what they need to adopt, is that almost like interchangeable parts that allow you to build your tool. And if that is for a filmmaker, maybe it is, something to lock your feet in either side so that you're definitely not sliding off or falling off or anything, with maybe some sort of stabilization, something or other, or whatever it might be. For you guys who are doing more extreme stuff, like you said, stronger rails. It might be,
lighter.
like those angled foot pads, lighter. It's all this stuff that you're like, dude, I understand that you don't want other people to make it, but if you're not going to, you're not taking the next step in development, which means that you're almost negating the community that you created. You're pulling the plug on your own idea.
Dude, think about the industry of just the accessories. So if there was just a core one wheel, like, the gyroscope in the engine, and then you could, or the motor, and you could modify it for different applications. So have a lighter deck for tricks, or even a more burlier deck for like hardcore, like off-road shit, a burlier wheel, like all that shit, like that shit costs, right? So you've got the regular outfit. I mean, people are probably spending equally as much just to accessorize it in the exact way that they want, willingly. Like, maybe not just but like a good chunk, right? Yeah. Willingly saying, I want to modify it this way, I want to modify. This seems like there's a good market there, but I don't know what I'm talking.
And I've always, you're 100% spot on. People spend up to, if you get a board and then you fully kit it out, new rails, new tire, new foot pads, new, like all that stuff, that goes, that's $300 to $700 right there.
Yeah.
People pop out their batteries. People pay $700+ to put a better battery in their board. Like, the money's there, the need is there. And I think if, when you go, like when I ordered my MacBook recently, you go in and there's like the base model. And then you're like, do you want to upgrade this? Do you want to upgrade that? Do you want to change this? What color do you want? Like, I've been saying this for so long. Like, one of the main things is tires. One Wheel's been using the exact same tire since the V1, and it is a shit tire. And we've all told them so many times. And we've been asking them for years and years and years, change the tire. We didn't want a different tire. And then people started putting their own tires on the boards, and then that voids your warranty. Like my best friend Elijah, who came and waved in the window, he sent his board in to get fixed because it started shutting off on him while they were riding, and they're going through a whole thing right now because they refused to fix his board because of a third party tire swap, and that had nothing to do with the part that they have an issue with. And so it's like, if the tire is really bad, and then we switch the tire, and then we void our warranty switching the tire. But I've been saying, like, if you don't want us to switch the tires, if when you bought the one wheel there was options for what tire you want to come on your board,
Yeah.
that would solve all my problems. I
Yeah,
wouldn't,
and
like,
you can say, and like maybe they're getting a killer margin on the tire they get because they buy a million of them. Just build out the same margin, the exact same margin, or even more of a margin on the upgraded tire. So let's say we make, you know, $150 per wheel because we buy X amount of wheels. All right, well, we're going to sell this other wheel that costs 200, twice as much to the consumer, but we're still going to build out $150 of margin in that wheel. If they buy it, fine. If they don't, fuck it, you know, and see what happens. It's not,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like it's that complicated.
I don't think so either. And like, if you bought your wheel and you had the option to have like small super turny tire, bigger rounded tire, treaded tire, there's like 4 or 5 tire options on your board. It's that easy. People wouldn't have to swap their own tires. Or like when you buy, like, I feel like, I mean, I know all this stuff does take a lot of time, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of engineering, but I definitely think they could get to the point where they have options on the board. Like, there's an upgraded controller. The controller costs an extra $500 to have the beefy fucking unbreakable controller. And at the end of the day, you fully upgrade your board, you're looking at $3,000-$4,000 bill. Like, that's a lot of money. But if you want all that stuff on your board, if the option is there, people will do it. You know what I mean? And that's what people need. Or maybe when you buy your board, all you want is just that different tire. You just get the base model, just get that tire swap, you're good. But yeah, like what you guys said is spot on. Like, I've said it, I'll say it again. I love them. The product they made has given me an entire career, an entire life. But there's just missing things. There's missing things, and all the problems in the community are caused by what they do. Yeah. Like, if they would listen to us, like, if they would listen to us and make changes in their board, a lot of the companies that exist wouldn't exist. A lot of companies that piss them off and do stuff that they don't like wouldn't exist. If they had more of an ear to the ground, hearing us being like, oh, they want a different tire, okay. Oh, they want better grip tape, okay. Oh, they want better bearings, okay. And just making those changes.
Dude, how about the Float Life fucking Future Motion collaboration? Like, what? Like,
that would blow minds. That would blow minds.
Literally, could you imagine, like, just them going, you guys going, we will make the shit that goes on it. We will make all the extras, all the attachments, appendages, fucking all the shit. All you have to do is just keep making fucking one wheels. Like, if that was the agreement, like, bam. And whatever it would be, if they got some of the money off the end or whatever, it's like, it seems irresponsible to me of them to be doing so. But again, like,
dude, maybe they're just drunk on profits. You know, like they're just like, you know.
Is that, or even that they're like Barry said, you know, they might just be people who have come from a tech savvy point of view. They might have come from a different field. It might be that they've got some scientists that came up with the technology of how it works. They had some engineers who built the motherfucker, and then they've got some marketing whizzes who are putting it out. They don't maybe have anyone who is possibly, and it sounds weird to say this, but someone who is grown up within skating or within board culture, within all that kind of stuff, because you actually end up you have a different outlook on life. Like, it's weird to say, people like myself and you, Bodhi, we look at things differently. Like, I know one of my biggest skills in life is falling over and getting back up. I know that no matter what failure comes my way, if it's financial, business, if it's passion, if it's physical, whatever failure comes my way, I know that there's always going to be a way to get back up. And there's always a way to, like, move forward and battle it and do that kind of stuff. And I think if you don't have someone like that in the company, then it's very hard to also see those kinds of angles, and it's hard to look at things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I fully do get that.
But Jeff and I have talked about it. We said, I think the ideal scenario is that Future Motion buys Float Life and has Jeff and I and our team operate the accessories. Like completely take it off their hands. We'll do all the designing, we'll do all the marketing, we'll do all the inventory, like all that shit. I think that would be the most ideal setup, because then they would have oversight, make sure it falls within the standards. It's not going to break anyone's boards. And then they get sick fucking products made by passionate one-wheelers, some of the top passionate one-wheelers, and then they make money off of everything we make. Like we've said, if they would partner up with us and just be down with what we're doing, we'd pay them a cut at every product we sell. If they want to do that, and they want to like be down to sell our stuff on their website, or at least just be down with featuring videos on their page with our accessories and stuff, like we pay them a cut. We want to work with them. Like we're low key waiting for the day where they're like, you know what, guys, let's all team up. Let's all do this together. We're sitting waiting. We're ready.
Yeah,
because like
they
I said,
think
we're fueled by a passion of one wheeling.
yeah,
And while
it's almost like they see you as like the Samsung to their Apple. You guys aren't Samsung in any way, shape, or form. You're actually just going, hey, we actually make cases for your Apple phone that make your phones 1,000 times better. Like, come and let us make the cases for your phones.
And we'll sell them on your website.
Exactly.
You know, we'll all make money, and you'll have a better product. People will have better customer satisfaction. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Well, hopefully, hopefully they're listening. And I mean, and I will contextualize this by saying we're picking at a little bit right now, but the reason why is because it's such a fucking killer product, and it has such a fucking loyal like consumer support, you know, fans and marketing, that like there's an opportunity here for them to really, like, if they're whatever money they're making, to double it, triple it, like 10 times it right now, if money's what's driving them. So although we are being a little bit tough on them, the reason why we are is because it's a fucking killer thing they created out of nowhere, and you know, put an industry out of, like, literally created an industry out of nothing, which is a huge accomplishment. We get that.
Yeah.
But there's even more.
For us, it's like we're not doing what we're doing because we don't like them. We're not doing what we're doing because we want to beat them or outdo them or anything. We're doing what we're doing because we fucking love their product. We're obsessed with their product, and we've found things that we want to see that they won't do that we've done. It's like literally that simple.
Yeah. And
like they've made a product that has shaped my entire life. You know, like I owe them a lot.
it's hard. It's hard when do you know what? It's hilarious. I'll reference it to it's like every time a new fucking Batman movie comes out, I'm like, God damn it, I love Batman, and I'm gonna probably watch it because I love Batman. But every time I'm fucking disappointed. I'm like, I love the product, and I love the idea, and I love the premise, but somehow you don't deliver on the latter end, and it bums me out every time. I wanted to ask, you know, kind of going away from future motion a little bit, what's kind of your next step within one wheeling? Do you have some competitions coming up? Are you working on your next skate park? Like, I know they might be stagnant, but what's Bodhi Harrison's next thing? What are you working on at the moment?
Oh, I got a list. I got a list right now. I got a bunch of stuff that I've got in the pipeline.
Anything you can tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a handful of really sweet products we're about to come out with the Float Life. Something that I'm trying to do right now, a direction I'm trying to push, is really pursuing this coaching thing. Because I'm sure you know this, but you know, the meaning of our name Bodhi is enlightenment, just the Bodhi part, because the Buddha, homeboy in the back there, that's his mouth.
Home dog.
Well, became enlightened underneath the Bodhi tree. But the full word Bodhisattva is the enlightened teacher. And so that's somebody that reaches enlightenment, figures out how to do it, comes back and shows other people. And so that's kind of what I feel like my calling is ultimately. Like, you know, there's like these things I'm good at: skating, snowboarding, making videos. I'm a good cook, you know, I'm a good friend. But I think ultimately my calling is to teach, because I love it. Like I feel better when I teach somebody how to do a trick and they land it, versus if I learn how to do a trick and I land it. Like it's more fulfilling and pure stoke for me on that end. So where I'm trying to push right now, what's next for me is doing more of these TFL trick tips. And then I'm actually going to start like a Patreon or some sort of, so like, I think YouTube does a similar thing now where you can pay, but I'm going to do cheap. Like, it won't be crazy expensive. You don't have to pay like $100 for a video, but it'll be like $5 a month. You subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to do like deep dives into stuff. And do like videos of me teaching people how to do the tricks, so like people can see other people learning how to do stuff and see like what comes of that. And I probably say something teaching somebody that I wouldn't say just like explaining something, and doing more deep dives into like how to ride the one wheel, how to film one wheeling, how to fix your one wheel. Like, I want to really dive into the teaching and coaching aspect, to help grow everything. Like, that's my goal, is to help transfer my knowledge to people, and then also have those people transfer their knowledge, and have the whole community just continue to grow and lift. So I want to do that. And kind of my goal with that is I'll have my YouTube page where I'll have a lot of like fun stuff, vlog style content, stuff like that. I'm trying to do more lifestyle content around me and my crew and my friends, and then have like surface level knowledge on YouTube, and then have like super deep dive stuff going on like a Patreon page or something like that. Is something I got going right now. We're gonna start filming for Socially Distant Part 2 really soon here.
Nice.
It's really cool. I think a couple of the riders, I'm actually gonna fly out to where they're at and film their video parts, because we want this next one to be like really, really sick. So we got the coaching, going to dive deeper into the coaching over the next couple of years, and then start doing Socially Distant 2. I'm going to start designing a one wheel shoe soon, like a one wheel shoe, which would be ridiculously cool.
So what's the deal with
awesome.
what's the deal with that? How does the shoe typically wear down on a one wheel that your shoe is gonna?
Shoes don't really wear down like skating. Like with skateboarding, you're sliding your feet on the grip tape a lot, and you blow them out. But with one wheeling, I think there's just a missed opportunity for a shoe that just will be more about operation than wear and tear.
Okay.
And I guess the one way that they do wear is grinding your shoe on the tire.
Yeah.
While you're riding, like your shoe will hit the tire. So they'll basically be designed for. They'll be like extra high tops is kind of what I'm thinking. Because I want them to be really supportive of your ankle. I want it to be really tight, supportive fit. Because you guys were asking recently, I think I might have just jumped around the question a little bit, like how. That's Brandon. How the falling ratio with one wheeling. You definitely don't take as many slams as skating, depending on how you're riding. But what you do a lot is roll your ankles. Get a lot of ankle rolling. Because you come off your board in weird ways sometimes, like with certain amounts of momentum, and like I roll my ankles like crazy. Elijah rolls his ankles a lot. And so I want to like have a shoe with really good ankle support and guards for the heels, and kind of like make a specific shoe that's made for one wheeling and one wheelers. It'll be like skate inspired as far as the aesthetics, and like we'll probably have like a Volk sole and everything similar to like Kyle Walker Vans shoes or something like that. But that's something I want to work on with the kicks. And then let's see what else we got coming along. About to get a truck.
Nice.
I'm about to sell my van, get a truck, rig that thing out all crazy. I want to get like a solar panel on top of it. Something I want to figure out for the one wheel community is a one wheel solar system. And it's gonna be something I want to like sell on my website, where it's like a specific panel and the whole setup. You just like follow the links, and you can buy all the stuff, and I'd probably get like the affiliate commissioning off that or whatever. But where it's like it'll be able to work with most cars. Like if you got a minivan or you got a truck or whatever, freaking solar panel on the roof that wires into a little battery bank on the side, so you can charge one wheels in your car. Because if there was something like that, I'd buy it. If it's just like a pre-made little kit is something I want to figure out, because something I'm trying to push for. One of the reasons I have the Sur-On and the one wheel, and something that us Flux Mvmt are really trying to do, is sustainability, like pushing towards sustainability. And while electric transport is sustainable, a lot of the ways that we get that electricity isn't sustainable. You know, like fossil fuels and stuff like that is where most of our electricity comes from. So I want to try to do whatever I can to kind of push solar power and the accessibility of solar power. And I want to figure out a solar system. I'm about to move from a townhome to a real house pretty soon here. And so I'm going to figure out a solar system where all my electronic vehicles charge via solar. So that's kind of one of my plans with the car rig kit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude.
That's
awesome.
incredible, dude.
Yeah, so that's kind of some of them. Like the thing about me is I'm highly passionate and highly ADHD. I have like super gnarly, like nearly crippling ADHD. Like it's intense. So I hop from one thing to another constantly. So like my projects kind of pop up and I work on them, get them done, and other projects kind of pop up and I kind of just like certain projects I'll start on. I'm like, oh, this isn't really like that worth it. So those are kind of the main ones that I'm for sure doing right now, but there's a bunch of weird little in-between stuff. Like one of the things that I'm getting started right now, actually just out of this, is my buddy Elijah, who came and waved. He's my best friend. We've been friends since like 6th grade. We live together, we work together. And we're trying to start like a little brand together called B&E. And
Nice.
where it's just kind of our stuff. Cause I've like personally branded myself a lot over the years with like the color and the logos and like everything I do. And so we're trying to kind of start a thing between us. So it's not like Bodhi and Elijah. It's like B&E is like what we're going for. So one of the ways
breaking and entering.
Yeah, that's what we love about it, is it fucking stands for Bodhi and Elijah and breaking and entering. But we are going to get started with that. And the main goal for us with that is similar to like a lot of my goals, which is to just elevate whatever we're a part of and just stoke people out in the community and everything. Because Elijah and I are very loving people. Like we really like to love on people and get to know people and help support people in any way we can. So we're starting our B&E thing off with what we're calling B&E Banger Reel, which is going to be a combination of a YouTube channel and an Instagram page, where one of the main things we're going to do is react to people's edits. So we'll have people, we have one filmed that I've almost done editing, which will be our first one. That's a little rough because we haven't done stuff like that together before.
Nice.
But it's going to be a place, that video series will just be us like reacting to people's edits. We play it through, we stop it, we talk about it. And I'm like, I really want to get into kind of like the technical stuff so that people can watch me watch edits and see how I break them down and like pause tricks and be like, see that right there. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where I'll be like, that right there is really fucking hard. And I'll pause and like break it down. And I'm like, so with that, you have to do this, or like, he probably had to do that. And I'm assuming this kind of went down. And I know you have to go here to set up for that, and just like kind of breaking down other people's edits. And that, and there's a few different reasons we want to do this. One of the reasons is to support other riders and have them have their videos seen and have them have their videos reacted to. And another reason is we're trying to create kind of like a hub for one wheel content. Because I've seen a bunch of these like Instagram pages and YouTube pages pop up over the years where it's like, yo, we're going to be bringing you the one wheel news. And like, these are going to be all the highlights of one wheeling. And then they like post a couple things and fall off. So we're trying to kind of create a place where you go to this one spot, you can find a bunch of really cool content. And it's an opportunity for people to like, instead of working super hard and posting your video on your personal page, and if you're not slaving over social media and have this huge following, not a lot of people see it, but you put tons of time and passion into that video, you bring it to us, we post it on our platform, we either react to it or just post it, and it gets to be seen by more people. Because for me, like, there's been so many videos in my life where I worked hours and hours and hours and took brutal slams and fucking just slaved over these projects, and it's on my YouTube, it gets like 300 views. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like 300 people, that's a lot of people. I appreciate that. But like, it'd be kind of cool if a little more people saw this for the work I put into it. So, that's where we're getting started with it. And so like the Instagram side will just be like us reposting people's clips and stuff like that. And then the YouTube will be like us posting edits and reacting to edits and stuff. So that's another little project we got in the pipeline right now.
Love it, dude. That's super sick. It's like a video part director's series, video part director's cut.
Like the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super sick, man. I think first of all, the coaching thing is really awesome. I think the relation to our name is really awesome. I think it's one that I've definitely thought about a lot. And after actually traveling to India and stuff, and just being surrounded by constant bodhisattva stuff everywhere, it's one of those ones where you start to question what your place is and what meanings of certain things are. And I think that's really cool that you've dove into that and you're wanting to help some people out. I think filming for your second part, can't wait for that, dude. I think that's going to be super sick. The series with Elijah sounds absolutely amazing. By the way, let him know as well. I'm pretty sure he had a part in the video as well, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Let him know his part was awesome as well, dude. Like, please tell him from us. We absolutely loved it, and he absolutely killed it. I think, dude, you have got so much in line of being a good person, having the right morals, wanting the good, like a good direction for your sport, for your people, for your team, you know, for your buddies. It's so funny, dude. I resonate with so much of it because, you know, we're trying to do a similar thing with this podcast, and I have buddies who I'm like, hey man, we're doing this project. I'd like come and be a part of this. Like, let me help you out. Like, let's work together. And I think it's something that, yeah, it's great to work with people that are close to you, especially on something that you love together. So I think that's absolutely amazing, man. I think you're absolutely killing it.
And well, it's just all about spreading the stoke. Like that's literally I fall into the class like of Christian per se. I was raised Unitarian, so I get down with everything. But I've come to believe, you know, in Jesus and his story, and I feel like we all have a calling from God or from the universe, whatever you want to call it. You don't need to put a label on it, but that energy that creates all that is, you know, just the liveliness of the world gives us each a calling. And I think my calling is to love people and let people know that they're heard. And that's like, I've realized that over the last couple of years is like, that's essentially, all things aside, that is my calling. So for me, everything I do is just to spread stoke and just to like elevate every single person I possibly can and make everything as best as it can be. Cause the world's full of a lot of assholes.
Yeah, dude.
The world's literally
You
just
know,
full of assholes. And people get into things and do things and they keep it for themselves. You know, I think that's a big thing with skateboarding is like pro skaters, they figure out tricks, do tricks, and that's their thing. That's what makes them unique, that they're able to do that. You're not able to do that. People like learn things and create things and do things, and then they just hold it in. They're like, this is mine. And my goal is to just spread the stoke. Everything I learn, let me teach it to you. Like everything I figure out, let me give that to you. Like, let me make this video to help you get inspired. And I think that's kind of my drive is to just like at the end of every video, every full life video, there's this little thing that pops up where I'm like, are you stoked to go ride? I'm stoked to go ride. I'm gonna go ride. Cause that's just literally all it's about. Like all I really care about is just getting stoked and spreading the stoke with people. And
dude,
it's
for sure, dude.
What you want to see in the world.
There, I mean, certainly from our perspective and from just the little time we spent with you, it's super, like it's refreshing, and it's also rare to see someone that is, you know, morally based, but also like strong enough to come out and just talk about stuff that's important to you. Like sometimes people just keep their head down. They're just like, you know, I'm good. I'll just do, you know, I'll be a good person, and they kind of keep their head down. But you're, no, you've been really refreshing in how you've just come out and just talked about how it is, dude. And that's really, I think, going to resonate with a lot of people that watch this. So thank you so much for being real, bro, for being authentic.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot, guys. That means the world.
No, dude, and I'll echo this before I say a couple things. I'll echo what Tom said and just say it's been an honor chatting to you, man. Like it's really been an honor to speak to a pioneer within one-wheeling, as well as also just yourself as a whole. You've been super humble. You've been great to chat to. We're always nervous about new guests when we get them on, because we never know what someone's going to be like, what they're going to want to talk about, and how they're going to feel with me and Tom. And it's been really great chatting to you, man. I was going to say, if you want, man, shout out, let people know where they can find you. So where on YouTube, what's your shit on Instagram? Let everyone know what's going on. We got a good few people watching, loads of people saying that they really appreciate you, that you're super, super inspiring. There's a 17-year-old filmmaker called Luke in here who's been going off this whole stream. He absolutely loves you and really appreciates all that you do, man. Like, so shout out some stuff, man. Let some people know.
Yeah, well, I got lucky. I got a unique name, so I just use my name for all my social media. So my YouTube, my Instagram, that's really like most of the places I am. I don't do a lot of Twitter or Facebook or most of that stuff. So if you want to come find me, come see what I'm working on, what I'm making, it's all on my YouTube, my Instagram, which is at Bodhi Harrison, BODHIHARRISON. That's my Instagram, my YouTube. I'm also the marketing director of the Float Life. So all the Float Life content all comes through me. So if you want to check out what we're doing over there, that's thefloat.life on Instagram or the Float Life on YouTube. And then as well as Flux Mvmt, I do all the video work for Flux Mvmt. You can check them out on Instagram and YouTube at Flux Mvmt, but there's no vowels in movement. It's MVMNT. So those are the two companies that a lot of my work gets put out through, but all my personal stuff is at Bodhi Harrison. So come check me out. That's actually my Snapchat too. I don't really give that out much. You know, these like the humble podcast. You kind of Snapchat me, you know, at Bodhi Harrison. That's what's up. But yeah, that's where all my stuff comes from. And if you guys want to come visit me and come ride and have some fun, I'm in Sacramento, California. So if anyone's ever up north and wants to come out on a trip, hit me up. Let's link up and have some fun.
Incredible. So obviously, guys, we've been Homie and the Dude. This has been Bodhi Harrison. This has been episode 30, guys. We're 2 episodes away from ending season 1, guys. And it's been an absolute banger to hit episode 30 on. I must admit, this has been a banger. For us, guys, you know what it is. Hit us with the Holy Trinity. We like a little share. Share one of our podcasts on any of your social media. You never know who's going to like it. You never know who on your timeline will appreciate what we do. So share us out on your social medias. Then hit us with a subscribe on YouTube and the like and follow on Facebook. All of that allow us to continue having amazing guests like Bodhi, allow us to be here for hours of our time and do this for you guys. So thank you everyone who watched. Thanks all the people in the chat who have been spamming links to Bodhi's YouTube and his Instagram as it's now coming up. Guys, it's an absolute pleasure to have all of you. We've been Homie and the Dude, episode 30. My dude, right, we'll end off this live. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Bodhi.
We're chugging through. We're loving doing this stuff for you guys. If you want to support us, if you want to make sure that we can keep getting, you know, better quality set, better quality lights, make the filming better.
Bigger batteries for the camera.
Bigger batteries for the camera.
Yes!
You know, all that kind of stuff. You can do that by just liking, following the page, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. That is what really makes a difference to us.